Let's go to Yusuf Baba Ahmed, the VP, the running mate pick for the obedience. Maybe I think you should start this one.
Dati Baba Ahmed, brilliant guy, right? I've watched a couple of his speeches, and I started watching his speech. I didn't know who he was. I knew of his elder brother. I don't know if they are of the same mother, or but before he was even declared, there was that rumor on social media that he was going to be picked as the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party. So I started reading about him and watching videos, interviews that he gave and all, and I was impressed. So it's brilliant, and turns out that he is the owner of Bayes University, one of the private universities in Nigeria, and this one is based in Abuja. He was a senator, and I think before he became a senator, he was in the House of Reps. I stand to be corrected, but I think
that's correct. For 4 years, yeah.
And he was really, really young when he got in there. All right, so yeah, I think he's brilliant. He's been able to say the right things, the things that I like. When it comes to security, there was an interview he gave, and he said all the right things. Also, he talked about video surveillance. He talked about how to secure people. He talked about fighting corruption. I think he said something like okay, so he was talking about something about CCTV surveillance, video surveillance, and he was talking about importing them into the country. The government doesn't have to pay for the cameras out of their own coffers. He would just go get someone who has billions of naira of Nigeria's money in his private account, right? And they say, listen, I'm not ready to arrest you. Take, if you can't pay for this video, whatever, for us, it will be a win-win thing if you'll be able to get someone to part with that money without arresting, right? You have to have a holistic way of, fighting this corruption, just so you don't have fatigue in the EFCC and you don't have, cases that will go to court and the government will lose and the person will still keep the money, so you have to find ways of fighting this. But anyway, I've listened to him and he's brilliant. The controversy so far that has been raised is that he, one time on the floor of the National Assembly, had advocated that people who practice same-sex relationships should be killed. So that's why
did you see a video?
So I saw a video, and it was a short clip. I don't know. I'm not going to say that I know the entire context. I don't know exactly what he had said before then. I don't know whatever he has said after then. I don't know if his views have changed or evolved over time. And what people are saying, which I buy into, is that you can say that you do not believe, you can have ideological differences with same-sex relationships, but not advocating that they should be killed. You understand? So I don't know what his views are right now. That is the only controversy that I've been able to see. I don't know if you guys have seen any other one, but personally, I think he's an excellent pick by Peter Obi.
Okay, so I think
he's even a better pick than a Kwankwaso. Yeah. So there are
next. Yeah, go ahead. Say what you want to
say. There are considerations with Peter Obi. Peter Obi is already a huge movement, not as huge in the north as it is in the south, but maybe. Okay, so they were talking to NNPP to be able to get Kwankwaso to come onto the platform, right? If he had come onto the platform, especially as vice, and somehow convinced his supporters to support this Labour platform with Putobi as a presidential candidate, then they wouldn't have had to do as much work as they will have to do right now that he has picked Dati Ahmed. But I think Putobi is counted on the momentum that he has created and the momentum that is going to push him, into 2023. And with that momentum, he'll be able to introduce himself into the North. And you have this person who is a political person in the North and who belongs to a prominent family in the North, right? That can help him, generate that buzz in the North, and also combined with the, the efforts of young people. If it transcends from the South into the North, they'll be able to win. All they need is the backing of important politicians, right? If they can get that to be able to win. So yes, that is that for Dati Baba Ahmed.
Yeah, I think I agree with Tibere, on many of the things he said. Regarding the controversy surrounding this individual, I think I don't see him to be someone. I don't see him to be someone who has a fundamentalist view. He could be narrow-minded based on his exposure to, if you know the story of Baba Ahmed, his father or grandfather was a known cleric. I believe we know the history of the family. So, but while also being a cleric, he was also a liberal cleric at that time who gave opportunity to his girls to go to school. We're talking about more than 50, 60 years, 70, 80 years ago. So it shows you also and you could see his investment in education shows you the way he perceives life. So I think it's someone who doesn't have a fundamentalist view seen through the lens of religion. But do those have influence on him? Yes. Could that be explained as being narrow-minded? Yeah. Narrow-minded or not being forward-thinking enough? Maybe, there's a way to explain this. But beyond what he has said, also his character and accomplishments will be an indices of the stuff he's made of. He's been able to demonstrate scholarship personally. He's been able to invest in education, which is investment in value and people. Regarding his political capital, I think P2B is thinking of the name, the family, the influence, they bring in picking him, and also be, not a mainstream, mainstream politician. He's a classical politician, but more of a technocratic element coming into the system, coupling his technocratic disposition or accomplishment and his family influence. That would be some of the considerations P2B must have made for picking Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed. I think it's a good pick. I think people will be wanting to rid themselves of classical Nigerian politicians because not a lot of people know him. And even though he's been in politics for some time, serving both lower and upper house, people don't see him as one of those classical politicians. So it's like a breath of fresh air and also he's relatively young. So I think it's a good pick. As Barry said, Kwankwaso would have been, I don't know if it's a Barry or Skinner said, Kwankwaso would have been, he's more established and has more followership, and that would have lessened perhaps the the work that the P2P camp would have done. But it's politics is politics. You have to contest, you have to compete. It's a battle of wits and ideas and all the machinations and all the things associated with it. So you just can't say for sure how things can evolve from a point of certainty. It's only time that will. Things are very dynamic. As time evolves, things change, and the system changes with it. So some of the predictions today could be overridden by circumstances of tomorrow. So, but I think he's on a good camp. I mean, P2P is on a good camp. There is still a lot of work to do, but there is a possibility of P2P, looking at, seeing things through the lens of the momentum he has built, and also seeing things through the character issues, that the APC camp has, the baggages they have. These are two, dynamic issues that could also influence the polity. So that is my take on this.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah. Okay. So, from my point of view here, one thing we've not mentioned, I don't think anybody has mentioned, is that Yusuf Baba Ahmed also has a BSc in economics and an MSc in economics. And before he joined politics, he worked for the Nigerian Security Minting Corps. I think it was, yeah. So as economics, that's the real, that's not bank manager. This is real, macroeconomics, right? So, in terms of leading and being in position of power, if he's there, that that experience gives him a better, equips him better to actually work on, on the economic board and do something, for the country. So on the controversy side, what I would say is simple. He has to address it head on. If he made those statements, he needs to say it. If he didn't make those statements, he needs to deny it or tell us the context with which he made those statements. And then if his views have changed, he has to also let us. He was very, very young. Your views can always change, so but again, advocating the killing of people who practice homosexuality is not something I want to play with. So he should address it, with his chest, and let us move on from that. But you can see absolutely that the guy is sound, and he doesn't have much baggage. Even most of the people who came around throwing it on social media about these statements he made about homosexuals, most of them, their principal, I'm giving example, Renaud Mokre, I would mention his name. His principal, signed a law to jail homosexuals. Okay, so who wants to jump on this Archbishop Isaac Idahosa's issue? Because he's the running mate pick for Kwakwanso's NNPP. I think I'll talk about this, right? Because I've crossed paths with this pastor. I know him personally. He was born and bred in Niger State. Then I think he did mechanical engineering as a course, but he said that God called him. So he didn't have peace of mind, while trying to pursue his career. So he had to start, like playing the guitar and gospel songs, and he used to squat somewhere in a cousin's, boys' quarters, and people would gather, and then he would preach and from boys' quarters. They went to the living room. From there, he found the place. But today he's grown. He's popular, at least in Lagos. Recently, I saw videos of him showing some powerful miracles where 10 to 20 young men were holding him, and he was like, he like Samson, he flexed, and all of them just fell on the ground, and so he's boisterous, he's exuberant. That's him. He's a nice. I like him a lot. He's just an easygoing guy. But what I don't know right here is how he got into politics. I don't know. Maybe as a pastor, he must have met a lot of prominent politicians, or I don't know what. If I want to gauge, his political capital, I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of people out there who don't know him, even in Lagos and outside Lagos. So I don't really know politically, what he's done. So I can't speak to that. But if any of you, know more than that, you're welcome. But I know him. What I know about him, from my encounter with him and from what I've seen so far.
Well, I'm going to speak on the dynamics of his speech. If he's someone who has political capital, which is absolutely relevant in politics, it means that his political capital starts from Lagos. And if he starts from Lagos, it means that a lot of people will be voting for him in Lagos and voting for his party if he has the political capital. And what that affects is that it affects dynamics of, the share that politicians will get in Lagos, which is quite a strategic place, a strategic state for anyone vying to win election in Nigeria.
Correct.
But if his political capital is underpinned by his influence as a pastor who can overcome 7 macho men. But many Christians don't know him. I don't think anyone that I know him. I don't know him. Haven't even heard of him. So for me, I doubt his political capital if it's seen through the lens of being a Christian. I don't think so. And I don't think, and as Ebere said, the Christian, Muslim, I don't even think that matters for many people today. I don't really think it matters. Look at Osibanjo. Nobody thinks that being a Christian made any difference. I don't think so. So
Osinbajo's case is very sad because he's not just a Christian, not just a pastor. He's a son. He's a smart, top lawyer, and none of that was evident in the way this administration behaved towards the judiciary or towards the law and order. So it's sad, really.
It is really sad, and it's a big disservice to the society for not, leveraging his competencies and his skills and accomplishments to influence policy and politics in his regime. And I think it's also a disservice to himself. So what I'm trying to say is that the pick may seem smart as per he's a well-known Christian pastor who is influential. Well, if people interpret influence through what they see on the TV and people falling left and right, that to me, that doesn't amount to political capital. And if indeed he has it, because he's based in Lagos and he's known in Lagos, then it could also influence the dynamic of voting in Lagos, which could jeopardize, APC, who is pursuing to get the largest share in Lagos State. So that is my take on it.
I think the calculation that the NNPC, I said the NNPC, the oil money, that the NNPP and its presidential candidates, the calculations they've made is that this man is a pastor, he's a Christian, and he's very popular, right? But I think it's a miscalculation. I don't know if there's any other calculation, but if it is based, if choosing the pastor is based on this, I think it is a miscalculation because one, he's a popular pastor, but not that popular. Not even just in Lagos, but not just outside Lagos, but also in Lagos. I don't think he's that popular. And if he has any membership, I don't know how much that membership will be. I don't think he's going to make any dents in Lagos, right? Bringing in Lagos votes, I don't think he's going to make any dents. He's not going to challenge the APC in Lagos, right? You might have a few members of his church vote for him, but even at that, not all members of his church are going to vote for him. We know pastors who have contested for elections before now, from Chris Okotie down to Tunde Bakare, right? And we know that, I mean, if they've had the support of just their church members, of course they wouldn't win, but they would have been getting sizable support and sizable votes. It will never get to 1 million, but at least it will run into several thousands. And they've not been able to really do that. So this guy is a pastor. He doesn't have the political connections, which are really important if you're to win political contests.
Yep.
It is not a popularity thing, as in I know you. It's like Wizkid, right? We all know Wizkid. He's very popular. If he gets into politics right now, he's not going to win. Why? Because he doesn't have the political calculations, political connections that he needs for people to actually say, okay, I'm sticking with this guy, right? The only reason why you can win if you have a movement like P2B's movement, where people have decided that they don't need to have met P2B before, they don't need to have followed him all these years, they don't need to, whatever it is, that they want him to be the president, right? So I think it's a miscalculation, like I've said. There was, I don't know if that controversy is still brewing, but there's a segment of, I think, the NMPP membership that would have preferred that NMPP and Kwankwaso chose a lady named Charity, who is supposed to be a popular NMPP person in the Niger Delta. I was listening to someone on TV yesterday, and the person was trying to make a case for Lady Charity, saying that, she's, being with the NMPP, has built connections within the party, has tried to work for the party and to advance the cause of the party in the Niger Delta, and that she should have been the vice presidential candidate of the NMPP. So that's kind of like, it's not a big storm like the APC is having and the PDP is having, but that is the only controversial or the only controversy that I know about the pastor that was picked as the vice presidential candidate of the NMPP. So like I said, I don't think he's going to bring much to the ticket. Of course, generally, I don't think that NMPP is really going to, really win a lot of votes in 2023. I think the race is still between the APC and Labour Party when it comes to the presidential election. When it comes to the state elections, that's a different matter. That's a different topic. But at the presidential election, I think it is still between the APC and the Labour Party. I think the PDP is going to come third, unless something else happens, right, that I can't foresee right now. But if things remain the way they are right now, it's between the APC and the Labour Party.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that Atiku is a poor campaigner? He doesn't know how to campaign.
And I've said that before. He's not really inspiring. He's not. He has the aura. If you look at him, he has a stature, right?
He has the money.
In this part of the world, there's a way someone has to look to look presidential, and he does. He looks presidential.
You mean when you wear agbada, a white
when he
agbada
wears
like
the
this,
agbada, he walks around. It doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to be agbada. I've seen him in other clothes. He actually looks presidential. His demeanor, body language, the way he talks to people. But generally, he's not inspired.
Yeah.
He won't be able to convince people who are on the fence to vote for him.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been any electricity. And there's no electricity in that ticket, both from Atiku and Okowa.
Yeah.
Imagine it was a Wike. I'm not saying that Wike should have won, but I'm just saying, imagine it was a Wike as the presidential candidate of the PDP. It would have been a different ball game.
Yeah.
Or Wike as the vice presidential candidate of the party. He will make some noise. At least there will be some electricity in that ticket. So I don't think that is going on with the PDP right now. I don't hear anything that he's doing or saying, So yeah, that's just
I agree
my
with
views
you.
about the whole thing.
I agree with you. I think I just think that he doesn't look inspired really, and it's about this entitlement thinking. I can, my money will work for me, but as you can see today, Obismol is not even working for Nigerians. Well, but that may not be the right expression. But Nigerians are donating their own money and resources. When people see that you're inspiring and that you're out there, they will rally around you. And
that's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He doesn't have those, elements that we are looking for, especially at this time. And I, to some extent, do concur with you regarding the presidential election being between APC and Labour Party. Yeah, PDP, because of their structure,
and also they made a lot of mistakes, like their primaries. First of all, they are the only ones I think who have in their constitution about zoning, and rotating, right? And they didn't honor that. So that's first. And also the way they treated Peter Obi, they saw his teaming, supporters, and they thought, they could just, I'm not saying they should have given him the ticket, but they should have negotiated more, to keep, Peter Obi in the fold, or to, you know what I mean, right?
Absolutely.
And they just discarded, and say, you guys don't have structure. And look at it now, like they made some mistakes there, and
they did.
Even some of their members are saying it, like now they can see the hit, because let's be honest, this thing is out of Peter Obi's hands. It's people of their own volition who are excited. It's people who have nothing to profit. I'm seeing journalists resign from their job just to do PR for him. I'm seeing, people are creating flyers, people are anything, people are chipping in, people are going on social media, people are going and preaching the gospel, like Jehovah's Witnesses, knocking down doors. I'm telling you, like, the excitement is real. And I also believe that, it's not just about Peter Obi, like what, Emperor said when we began, people are tired of, people don't want this Buhari mistake to ever repeat itself.
Guys, let's reconvene another time. For now, let's adjourn the meeting.